When the Romney team talks about maybe some landmines during the vetting process last time around, does that plant any seeds of concern?
No, because any of that stuff that was in the book was all stuff that was litigated in the 2009 campaign, and it'll be litigated again in the future. I understand that. But the fact is that these are just two guys trying to sell a book. Let's not forget that. They sensationalize things. They go to low-level staff to try to get a sensational book because they want to make money. I understand that. I don't begrudge them of it, but it doesn't make it valid. And nothing that I'm concerned about, Kelly. I can guarantee that.
Man.
Hello.
All right, with us now, MSNBC and Time Magazine,
yeah.
senior political analyst Mark Halperin, also national affairs editor of our New York Magazine, and MSNBC political analyst John Heilemann. They're out with their latest book, Double Down, Game Change 2012. So much to talk about. First of all, New York Magazine also, man, I read it early this morning. This Newtown story is just absolutely gripping. Make sure you get New York Magazine and read that. But I mean, the big grabber here, John, I don't know if I can do this. Take us in to that meeting during debate prep where the president just said to his staff that were trying to pull him up. I just think I don't know if I can do this.
It's like one of the most extraordinary moments that we've ever come across in our reporting in both these books. You know, the president had obviously had the disaster in Denver. He'd come out promising to do better. His team thought that he was improving. And then he gets to the debate prep session that they're doing in Williamsburg, Virginia. It's 48 hours before the Hofstra debate. Plouffe and everybody else, they're looking at the research, and the research is saying people are willing to forgive one bad debate performance, but if he screws up the second one, we could be in real trouble. He gives this horrible performance in this mock debate on Sunday night. Well, he's both all the worst things that he did in Denver, the kind of pedantic, slow, not driving a sharp message, all of that, together with his contempt for Romney, all comes together in this one.
Explain that, because, you know, if let's say I had contempt for somebody I were running against, I wouldn't sleep for 2 weeks beforehand because I would bury them. That's what I didn't get in this book. He had contempt for Romney, and yet just absolute, utter contempt, and yet that was getting in his way.
Well, and the only thing he had more contempt for than Romney is this thing that we've seen throughout his administration, right, which is that he has this enormous contempt for the theatricality of politics. He thinks of himself as being kind of above the showmanship of politics. And so the thing he hates about debates is, like, this is all just stagey, fake histrionics. I'm Barack Obama. I'm like above that. And the combination of that disdain for Romney, disdain for the process, leads him to this horrible place where 36 hours before the debate, they have to sit down with him and stage what they called an intervention. Three of his top advisors saying,
what they say to him?
Mr. President, you know, you need to embrace this event. What's wrong with you? And he sits there and he gives a 10-minute kind of soliloquy, a self-deconstruction, where he basically says, as the cover of the magazine shows, he says, I'm not wired in the way that this event requires. I don't know if I can do this.
Here's your quote on what the president said exactly. You keep telling me I can't spend too much time defending my record and that I should talk about my plans, he said. But my plans aren't anything like the plans I ran on in 2008. I had a universal health care plan then. Now I've got what? A manufacturing plan? What am I going to do in education? What am I going to do in energy? There's not much there.
Wow.
I can't tell you that, okay, I woke up today, I knew I needed to do better, and I'll do better, Obama said. I am wired in a different way than this event requires. Obama paused. I just don't know if I can do this.
So what's staggering to me is Mark Halperin, he was running. It's like Ted Kennedy in 1980. He didn't know why he was running for president. That's far more damning than not liking a debate. Basically said, I got no reason to run.
Yeah, I mean, this is, as John said, one of the most extraordinary scenes we've come across. And it was very hard to get because there were only a few people in the room. And the president, 2 weeks before the debate, 48 hours before the election, 48 hours before the debate, he's in a very bad place. And he had been telling them up until now, I'm Barack Obama. I never lose two in a row. Of course I'll win the second debate. In this meeting, he says, I'm not sure I can win this debate. I'm not sure I can do it. And saying he has no plans, which is, of course, was a critique of many Republicans, including Governor Romney, and some people in the press, the fact that he said it in this meeting, I think is something that some conservatives are probably going to seize on to say, see, he wasn't running on anything. But that's the way the president felt. How could he go out and have a serious discussion with Mitt Romney when basically he was running a campaign to disqualify Mitt Romney and not on any of the kind of specific big things that he wants to be about?
Which is exactly what they told you, John Heilemann, back in May of 2011. We really don't have our 12. We really don't have our own plan. We're going to have to destroy Mitt Romney.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's one of the things that's kind of, you think about where he is now. There's any incumbent president with the poor to middling economic record that the president had, with where the country was, the right track, wrong track numbers, you were going to run a campaign to disqualify. Anybody would have done it, to disqualify their opponent. But the truth is that the president he thought this election, as he said over and over again, it could break the fever, right?
Yeah.
And having run a campaign that wasn't really about his own record, nor was it about a future agenda, that all it was really about was the disqualification of Romney.
Destroying Mitt Romney.
It was sort of at odds with his stated and I believe sincere goal, which was, how are you going to have a mandate? How are you going to have a clarifying election if all you've really proven is that Mitt Romney is unfit for office, which he did demonstrably well.
Let me just say real quick, if you look at this scene, which again people can read now online, but it's a big part of the book, almost everything he's having trouble with now. Trouble with Congress, trouble with public opinion, trouble with explaining himself, is you can see in that scene where he's laying himself bare in a way he normally doesn't do to anybody.
Part of this is how much did Bill Clinton get in his head? And I say this, you guys did a great job talking about the weird relationship between the two of them going up to the convention. But it's my understanding that convention seat that Bill Clinton get, that he was jealous that he couldn't give, because Bill Clinton got to do
exactly
what Barack Obama was criticized by his staffers for doing in that first debate.
There's no question that a big part of our book, kind of almost the narrative through line, is the relationship between Barack Obama and Bill Clinton. In the beginning, President Obama doesn't really want to spend time with him, but in the fall of 11, when everything looks bad, when it looks like he may not be able to win re-election, when they flirt with the notion of Hillary perhaps being on the ticket, they reach out to Bill Clinton, they start to try to bring him in. And giving him that slot at the convention was kind of incredible, right? A guy who he was at war with 4 years ago gets the marquee slot.
You say he couldn't even play 18.
Couldn't finish 18.
But then he gets this slot.
But he gets a slot, and he does.
And he does this rambling, explanatory thing.
And many of the people who were involved in debate prep said exactly what you're saying, which is Bill Clinton got in his head saying, why does Bill Clinton get to explain my record? Why can't I go out and give a big wonky speech? And they said, you can't. And that's part of what got in his head. To go back to what you said at the beginning, Joe, so many things going on in his head. We think of him as a pretty unemotional guy, a pretty together guy. But so many of the things in his head in this bad debate prep with John Kerry, getting ready for the second debate, and Bill Clinton, no question, a big part of that.
So John Huntsman has called your book Supermarket Tabloid Trash.
John Huntsman Sr.
He called us that.
Called you guys Super.
John Huntsman Jr. though said, just a terrific book, loved it, everything right.
We've not heard from him yet.
Well, why?
Well, he apparently doesn't like having the fact that we report in the book that Harry Reid's source for claiming that Mitt Romney had not paid taxes for 10 years was John Huntsman Sr., and he, I guess, doesn't like that.
Wow. Harry Reid keeps popping up in your books.
He's a great character.
Chris Christie.
This is a
you'll
kind
be able
of
to
thing.
write. It's just going to be like sort of a novelist too. You'll be able to use the Harry Reid character. Will just keep going. Third and fourth.
John Huntsman Sr. Is a pretty big character in the book in the sense that he played a huge role in his son's campaign, but he also does not like Mitt Romney. And Harry Reid does not like Mitt Romney, and those two guys are friends, and they spend a fair amount of time, even though one's a Republican and one's a Democrat, talking about stopping Mitt Romney.
So let me ask you about Chris Christie. There was a unnamed Republican strategist who called me up and said that he thought, and a guy who likes Chris Christie, thought what was in this book could be disqualifying for Chris Christie. I haven't really dug into it. Tell us what you find out. What was Mitt Romney most concerned about in the vetting process that wasn't Chris Christie?
The conventional wisdom about why Christie didn't end up on the ticket is that the Romney people looked at the New Jersey pay-to-play rules, that Romney, if he put Christie on the ticket, he wouldn't be able to raise money on Wall Street. He might even have to give back money that he raised on Wall Street. That was an issue for Romney, but the much bigger issue was that the vetters who were looking at Christie looked at both the public record, and they found things in the public record that are public, but no one really knows them. I mean, no one at this table, most 99% of people, and even the political class, don't know that Chris Christie was a lobbyist for the Securities Industry Association when Bernie Madoff was the head of it. The vetters looked at that and said, he worked for Bernie Madoff trying to keep financial fraud out of the New Jersey State Consumer Protection laws.
Right.
That's a 60-second ad waiting to happen. They saw stuff about his brother in an SEC settlement. They saw stuff about his spending patterns that the federal inspector general had investigated him for, that he'd gone around the country and had violated all kinds of spending limits for U.S. attorneys.
Yeah.
They looked at all that stuff. Much of that was in the public record, but not widely known.
What did they consider, Mark, the most troubling part of Chris Christie's past?
Different people in Romney's world seized on different things. And what was extraordinary about it was they all liked Chris Christie. The reason why he got considered, at first Governor Romney looked at this stuff and said, I don't want a Sarah Palin-like situation where I pick someone and their controversies are the story for 3 weeks into and past the convention. So they looked at this stuff, and different people on Romney's team seized on different things. One of Romney's advisors he shares with Chris Christie, Russ Schrieffer. Russ said to Governor Romney, you know what, all this stuff's been looked at.
Just like Christie said the other day.
Just like Christie said, all this stuff's been looked at. It's true, but Governor Romney was smart enough to know being looked at in a governor's race ain't the same as being looked at if you're on the ticket.
Okay, so we're going to talk about this coming up. I'll just give you a little tease. Don't bleep me, Ron. You're a bleeping liar, and I'm tired of you people, and leave me the bleep alone. That's like 1 4-line paragraph.
Look, Chris Christie? Your friend Ron Kaufman.
We'll talk about it.
Wait, hold
on. Was that Chris Christie talking to Ron Kaufman?
Ron Kaufman at the convention.
Well,
it's a good scene.
Screaming at him in public.
It's a scene.
This is over the speech. And the video.
All right, Mark and John, stay with us. That was actually a tease, but okay. We'll talk much more about the book Double Down in the next hour, including the backstory behind Clint Eastwood's RNC chair speech. Remember the chair? And how he made one Romney advisor violently ill. Okay.
Threw up
now that's a tease.
That's a
we'll be right back.